Some men will say, I need to focus on my marriage, so I'm going to stop working out and eating healthy. Or I need to focus on my business, so I'm going to stop going to the gym.
It's all backwards. Science proves it. When you're working out, things happen in your brain. Things happen physically. How many guys and girls do you know get divorced or break up, and all of a sudden they get in the best shape of their life? Bro, have you done that when you were in your marriage? Maybe you'd still be married. Maybe you were a fat piece of your wife hated it. Now all of a sudden, because you're divorced, now you're going to get in shape. Why didn't you do that for your wife and your family while you were married?
Hi everyone, welcome to the Rising Father podcast. I'm Chris Rodek. On today's episode, for the first time, I have an in-studio guest. Here in my studio, I have one of my best friends, Mark Ferrelli. He's an entrepreneur, he's a bodybuilder, and just awesome husband and father. And they've been some of our best family friends for years now. So we talk about kind of whatever we want. We talk about bodybuilding, fatherhood, masculinity, even some AI, all that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. Please comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. What I just showed Mark was I just typed in random stuff and it recreated my voice. It's kind of creepy. It
is creepy. It's a prequel to our future. And my concern with all that is...
Yeah, let's dive into the terrors of the world.
Yeah. You know, they're going to... This AI stuff that... You know, we've seen, I'm sure you've seen videos of, like, cars on fire that's not real, like...
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to, like, create crimes that, quote-unquote, didn't happen just to frame people. And if that happens, like, how do you prove it's not real?
I have no idea. I feel like that stuff's all over Facebook. Because for whatever, more than Instagram, I think. Because when I go on Facebook, I see so many, I follow these, like, ancient civilization things. And I'm like, all you have to do is go on any of these million AI things and say, create an AI, ancient Egyptian old style drawing that looks like blank. Like, I have no idea what's real anymore.
That's the issue, right? Like, especially as we move forward with all this, how are we going to decipher what's real and what isn't?
I don't know.
Like, it's so, like, part of it's
make some money with it while you can.
Yeah, part of it's so exciting where it's going, but the other part of it's so terrifying where it's going.
Yeah, have you seen the Apple Vision Pros?
I've seen them.
Have you tried them on?
No.
Okay, I got into a wormhole of watching reviews of them, and it looks so terrifying and horrible.
So they're the glasses, like, where you can, like, play around on your computer with your eyes and stuff?
Yeah. It covers, like, your whole front of your face, and you can be walking down. Like, I'd be sitting here with you, and like a digital screen would pop, like on your,
still see in front
on
of
your
you,
car. You know how, like, the digital screen comes up?
Yeah.
I could see you, but, like, right here would be a screen, and I could, like, type, or I could bring up my emails.
But you can still function day to day. Like, you can still see, like, the wall in front of you.
Yeah. And you can kind of drive. You're supposed to be able to drive and do everything. I would assume that would be really dangerous, but you should be able to go through life with it.
Once again, exciting but terrifying.
Yeah. And I don't know why we're talking about AI, but who cares?
Yeah.
But, like, I was watching these review videos, and I was like, why is this being pushed so much? It's not like this is really going to enhance society. For me, it's more so like the tech companies building these things just know that if they can open up this can of worms, man, there's like trillions of dollars to be made for just the 1,000 different sub-niches of AI and virtual reality. Like, it's not like we need virtual reality and AI. It is, though, like, if you're a tech company, you really want it to be out there, and you want us to buy into it so that
100%.
We can buy your billions of products.
100% money.
Yeah.
Because they know a certain segment of people will buy whatever they put out. The newest, best version of whatever, they're going to buy it. Period. End of story.
Yeah. The guys that were doing the Vision Pros and testing it, one guy tried to do it all day, but by the end he was going nuts, and he felt like he had no like he would be talking to someone, but he just felt like he had no connection to them because he could pull up anything. And the other guy, if they don't have the thing on, they're not seeing your eyes.
Right.
They're seeing a black screen over, no eye contact.
It's the same as a phone, right? Like, if you're sitting here talking to me, but I'm going like this, like, how important do you feel?
Yeah.
I'll wait till you put your phone down, then we'll have a conversation.
That's something that today I was like, I need to optimize this part of myself, because we were talking this morning about optimizing sleep. I need to optimize my phone usage. And it's not that the phone is bad. It's that I have to use it in a more skillful way. Because I can still, and I don't have a huge problem with it, but it's like if I'm going to optimize things, why not optimize that? Because I could find, I was like, I need to make a list of when am I using my phone that is wasting my time? Like what am I doing?
Because we all do it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'll make a post on Instagram, and what do I do after that wastes time? I have to make the post. I have to take time to create it, but how much does that take? Not really that much.
Right.
Like this morning, I just recorded myself doing what I would normally do. I just added some old footage, put some soundtrack, took me 10 minutes while I was on the treadmill. But then, what do I do after that wastes time? I check to see how many likes it gets. I check to see how many shares and saves it gets.
For sure.
I might do that 10 times within the first 2 hours.
Get sucked into a
video. Then when I'm on Instagram doing that, I'll see something else that takes my attention, and that'll take me down a wormhole, and then I've spent 40 minutes, and I could eliminate that whole thing.
100%. And listen, I'm hands up, I'm guilty of it too, but I'm more aware now of catching myself just like you did. I'll be at home working on something, and what I'm trying to do now is put my phone on Do Not Disturb or leave it in another room.
Yeah.
But I don't do it all the time. Like I said, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But I catch myself in that same thing. I'll post something, same as you. Then I'll scroll this. Oh, look at that video. And the next thing I know, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
What was I? And sometimes I'll get to the point where it may not be long, but I'm like, what was I just doing? Like I get like mad, pissed at myself. I'm like, all right, I gotta stop. Restart whatever I was doing again and get back into the flow. I think it's important just to be aware of it, because some people aren't, especially the people that, like, you are a great example, because your whole business is that. For some people, even to apart from myself, like, if you don't have a business or a purpose or something on there, then what are you even doing? I just talked to a good friend of mine. He lives in Florida. He called me. He took a social media break for 3 months. He just got back on. He's like, I feel so stressed now. Like, all this stuff going on in the world. Like, my wife's like, get back off. Like, you're a different person all of a sudden. I'm like, well, why'd you get back on? So, but be careful of who you're following and for what. Like, I understand people say, well, I need to be up to date with current events, this and that. Okay. But to what extent? Are you letting it control your emotions, your thoughts? I want to be up to date too, but I also know, okay, this is digging me deeper in a rabbit hole that I do not desire to be down, so let's back off.
Yeah, I was thinking you either are allowing the social media platform to dictate your thoughts and to guide you, or you have to open it up with the intention of finding out a specific piece of information. For me, that's where I need to delineate. Because sometimes, I'll pick up my phone, say if I'm going to take a shit, and I'll be like, all right, I need a mental break. So I'll pick up my phone as kind of like a relaxer, as a mental break to take me out of the situation. So I'll pull up YouTube with no goal in mind, and then I'm looking at notifications, and then I'll see suggested videos, and then time will pass, and if I look back on those 10 minutes, I was not in control of those 10 minutes. I was just following exactly where YouTube wanted me to go.
Right.
So everything that was fed into my brain was at YouTube's direction.
Right.
Or if you just pull up Instagram with you're not like, I'm going to look at this new day's Instagram account to get motivated, or I'm going to look at Rising Father to get inspired. If you don't do that and you just open Instagram and just look at it, then it's like, oh, notification. Let me see what Instagram wants me to know. Oh, trending video. Let me see what Instagram wants me to watch.
Right.
And then if you just allow them to dictate your thoughts, to me that's scary. It's that you are not in control of the information coming into your brain. Social media is. It's like there's that, and then there's, which is my goal, is when I open my phone, it has to be to complete a task.
Great point.
I'm allowed to see the optimization and the performance statistics of my post because that's my business. But I'm going to do it once. I'll wait an hour, I'll check it, because I need to make optimizations, I need to make changes. I can't do it because I'm bored and then let myself get sucked down. Or if I want to check YouTube or go on YouTube, it's like, no, why am I opening the YouTube app? This is what I have to tell myself. Is it to take my brain out of a little bit of discomfort, or is it so that I can learn a specific piece of information? These are the things that I'm trying to dig into now, so I can optimize. Social media is such a massive part of our life.
Oh, absolutely.
100 years from now, people are going to look back on this time and be like, man, they really fucked themselves. Or Some of them figured out how to do it. Like I want to be one of the guys that figured out how to do it.
Absolutely. And I think the majority of the population is what you said first. They're just mindlessly scrolling on hours on end. And I think for those people, they need to ask themselves, A, what is this benefiting? How am I benefiting from this? Am I really getting any useful information from this? And is it growing me in any part of my life? Again, full disclosure, I mindlessly scroll sometimes too. Probably more than I should. However, like if I watch YouTube, like, all right, I do the same thing. I pull it up for, like, I want to watch a crypto video today, or my son and I are building a fort. Okay, how do I do this? Like, let's do that. So there has to be some sort of purpose behind it. I just mentioned my son. How do you feel, since I consider you kind of an expert in this, our kids are the same age, 10 and 8.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like they're going with this? Do you think it's going to change for them in 5, 6, 8 years? Is social media going to look different? Are they going to treat it different?
Yeah, I think there's going to be there's going to be a pyramid with everyone. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be people. Are you talking about like what it's going to look for them, or how are they going to interact with it?
Both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like how they're going to interact with it. I think you'll have, like we were watching Hoarders yesterday. Mm-hmm. I just randomly turned it on. Partly wanted to scare my kids into Nathan into cleaning his room better.
That's great.
I was like, I put it on my stories. I filmed it, and Nathan's head was, his mouth was wide open because the lady found a dead cat. I was like, this is what your room's going to look like.
Great idea.
He was terrified. Now he's obsessed with the show. But like you have, like right now, out of the billions of people in the world, you have some people that are like that, failing at life. Mm-hmm. So 10 years from now, there's going to be a certain slice of the pie that fails at social media no matter what it looks like, and they're going to be devastated. Like the hoarders, these old ladies who have kids, their kids are screwed up forever. Mm-hmm. So if you're a parent and you're an adult who is obsessed and has an addiction to social media, no matter what it looks like, you're going to inflict that onto your children. So your kids are going to be screwed no matter what. Mm-hmm. If we can control it more, I think they can be controlled. I think the whole virtual reality thing is not going to happen. I think
because of what we talked about earlier, the person-to-person.
Like I think if someone would say 5 years from now, everyone's going to be wearing glasses and headsets.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I think that's something they're trying to push that people just don't want. Like advancement of society doesn't have to be more tech. Mm-hmm. What if advancement of society is all of a sudden we start ditching this stuff and people become more free and less reliant?
That's the direction I think we're going, actually.
Like more like, I don't know, hippie, but like more less tech, more like, no, I don't want to be, more Renaissance. Mm-hmm. Like the tech nerds want everyone to think that technology is the advancement of society. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to happen.
This is the advancement of society.
Yeah, I think because my kids,
your group is the advancement of society.
Both our kids, because we go camping all the time,
mm-hmm.
and we just came back from a week-long vacation. Their favorite moments, if you say, what was your favorite moment on vacation? They don't say, well, sitting on the couch playing video games. They're like, oh, when we were out on the boat, when we were camping and you can't get on anything, mm-hmm. whenever we were doing these things. Like, that's what people actually want. And I think for for billions of people, we were duped for a couple of decades mm-hmm. and bought trillions of dollars of shit and mm-hmm. bought into all of it. But I think now people are starting to say, no, I don't need to buy everything that Apple sells me. Mm-hmm. I can use technology in a good way, like our Men of Fire program. We're using WhatsApp. So whole community's on WhatsApp. Like they use it in an amazing way. They're actually changing their life in a controlled way. Mm-hmm. You can do that, or you can scroll Instagram for 5 hours and post political stuff and be surrounded by toxic people.
Right.
I think there's a trend going. I think 5-10 years from now, there's going to be less intrusive tech. And hey, maybe I'll be proven wrong. I'm hopeful for that. But I don't think people want to wear crap all over their face. Mm-hmm. I don't think people want implants. I think these socially nervous nerds mm-hmm. who can't talk to people, that's what they want.
Correct.
I think they want to be in a cave with a headset on.
Right.
Where they don't have to talk to people.
Because they want everyone around them to be the same.
Yeah, they're just scared to have a conversation.
No. I tend to 100% agree with you, especially for our kids' generation, their age. They're going to use it, but they're also going to use it more productively, I think. And they'll have more of this face-to-face group friendship, community interaction. I think that's the way the world's going to begin with. But I think their generation specifically will move more towards that. Like the, I think that middle, I don't even know what generation you call it. I don't even Z, Y, X, whatever. I think they'll be stuck in it for some time.
The people that crafted it.
Yes, but I think the rest of us we're gonna move forward with quote unquote real community, civilization, growth, mentorship, friendship, like all that stuff. I believe is coming back. Even like as much as and as big as Amazon is, like click a button, you get your product in 2 days. Like I feel like even the more business like that, maybe even coming back slowly. The more brick and mortar, support your local places. I would rather do that. I love convenience, don't get me wrong, but if you opened whatever it is, a bike shop, I'm going to go to you to get a bike part before I order Amazon. It's just the way I am. So I can, part of me sees that space coming back too. That may take a little longer, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, but I think people want to support local too when it comes to business.
I think it's mostly, for me, my perspective is that people will do what's convenient and actually better.
Mm-hmm.
To a point, they can get duped and tricked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think like Amazon same day, 2 day shipping. Like I do Costco same day.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazingly convenient.
100%.
Like I will continue to do that because it's so damn convenient and it makes my life better.
Mm-hmm.
These virtual reality looks like crap,
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, makes me nauseous and dizzy. You
Right.
can't connect. Like, and I've struggled to find very few positives in it, other than the fact that they just really want you to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, it's just, for me, it's black and white. It's like, this is making my life worse, so I'm not going to use it.
Really, that's the question you can ask yourself when you're doing anything, right? Is this making my life, my mood, my state better right now or worse? Simple questions.
And then they can incentivize it, like with electric cars. Some people might think they make life better or worse, but then the government could say, well, if you buy an electric car, use a $10,000 voucher, and then you're like, well, it makes my life worse, but I want the money. And that's whenever they can force civilization to actually change in a way that's not productive.
Right.
Or you could say, you know, if you don't start using this thing, we're going to do blank to you. And that's when you have no choice.
Mm-hmm. That's when shit gets real scary.
But I think if people were free to choose what they actually enjoyed and made their life better, we wouldn't be using some of the stuff we're using.
1,000%. There's no doubt. I talked about me and my son building a fort, right? So
Yeah.
my wife and I, admittedly, did a poor job the first half of the summer with electronics with our kids. We let them basically have full reign, and we sat them down. Look, this is our fault. We let this happen, but the month of August, no electronics, like gone. And it's amazing, Chris. Like we're like what, 5 days in August? 6
Yeah.
days? How these kids' brains are working all of a sudden. The stuff they want to do, the stuff they're thinking of, the creativity, because there's no electronics involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like he immediately, we talked about this fort like 2 years ago when my in-laws moved in with us. He's like, can I pick a place to build this fort? Absolutely. Picked a place. He cleared it out. Went and bought lumber. We got started. Come down the other day. He's building Legos, talking about this in school and his business fair this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think when that piece is removed, especially, now don't get me wrong, come September, school starts, they'll be back on it, but we're going to monitor it better. But when that piece is removed, especially for kids, like the creativity, the ownership over things, it all changes. And just to watch it firsthand 6 days in is just, I'm just amazed I'm amazed and also pissed off at myself that I let it go on as long as I did. But, like I said, we took, my wife and I, we took ownership of it. We sat him down. This is our fault. Now, but we're going to correct it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really cool to witness firsthand.
Everyone does it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody's perfect. If you say you are, you're lying to your kids and yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we bought a Switch thinking that, my kids won't watch YouTube, and I still am debating whether that was a good thing or not. Like I wish if I could go back and be like, I'll be one of those parents who does 0 screens ever. And
I think that's just impossible this day and age, bro. Like, I don't want to say nothing's impossible, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think the problem with it was like the being bored thing, because I've been having Nathan and Lauren do more and more manual labor, sucky manual labor. I did that my entire childhood.
Me too.
My dad didn't give a shit.
Me too.
It was like, you go in the backyard. I remember every year we had to tear down and build an above ground swimming pool, and he was neurotic about leveling it.
Okay.
And I've 8 brothers and sisters. All of us were back, and it was like we lived in a mansion. This pool was like as big as a studio, maybe. So it was a little 8-foot square or circle of dirt, and we had to go in just hours, pick every single pebble out of the ground. Searing heat. We didn't have air conditioning.
Right.
After we were covered in sweat, we'd go inside and sit in our sweaty hot house. But it was hours doing that. Like, we complained, maybe, yeah. Nothing happened. It's not like he took us out to ice cream.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. You and I have talked about this before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, no, we just did it. We suffered. There's value in just being able to get yourself to do a hard thing without stopping for a long time. I remember my dad's dad was this old crotchety guy. He also didn't give a shit. I remember my dad told us a story about he had a cat that had like kittens, and he had like 8 kittens. I was like, what do you do with the kittens? He's like, oh, he just drowned them all. He didn't want kittens, so he just got rid of them all.
Wow.
It's like, oh, you just got rid. That's just what you did. You just got rid of your kittens. And, back in the day, people would like burn trash in their backyards. And, but I remember me and my 2 brothers resealed his driveway in the summer. He had a huge driveway, like twice as big as mine. And I was maybe 8 years old in the summer, resealing a driveway, and he gave me 2 quarters. It probably took 6 hours. And I was so grateful for those 2 quarters.
Right.
Like, so I'm trying to get my kids to do more of that kind of and I pay them for some of it. But just work hard, suffer, be uncomfortable for a long time without stopping.
Yes.
There's no payoff. Like, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. And listen, we tell our kids the same thing. They have chores they get paid for, but other stuff they do just because they're a member of the house.
Yeah.
You live under this roof, you're going to do this stuff just because you're able to live here. You want to make money, there's stuff out here you can do. Manual labor, cut the grass, what have you. But there's other stuff you're going to do just because you're allowed to live here. And you're part of this household and you're going to contribute. Again, are we perfect? No. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, the suffering, especially this day and age, like with kids, and you've coached your son's team, I've coached my son's deck hockey team. You see it in some of these kids. There's zero suffering. Everything is handed to them.
Yeah.
And you can see how it's affecting the level of play in sports. They think they deserve a trophy. The trophy mentality, right? Again, we could all be better, but it's a lesson they're not going to realize right now, most of them. Some of them may, but down the road they're going to be like, yeah, I'm glad my dad made me do that.
What were some of the things you saw when you were coaching?
Well, I'll give you an example just that's happening right now. There's a particular kid on the team who gets out there and doesn't hustle, just doesn't move very fast or very well, so he doesn't get a lot of playing time. I got an email from the parent requesting more playing time.
Welcome to the world of teaching.
My response was, okay, I have a question. Do you feel that your son is putting forth the same effort as the rest of the kids out there? I still haven't received the response, but that was my response. So, because it's obvious watching that the effort – now, the skill level is going to be different for everybody, right? I get that, but the effort can be the same. I tell my kids I coach all the time, look, there's always going to be someone across from you that's better skilled than you, has more talent than you, but you can always outwork them. You can always out-hustle them, and eventually they're going to quit before you do because they're going to get sick of seeing you coming, get sick of being outrun. So the effort's just not there. So
you get to deal with the response.
Yeah, we'll see if they respond.
Yeah.
It was just surprising to me that, again, we're all imperfect people, right? But to ask that without some other insight as to whatever it may be. Hey, I know Johnny's not getting a lot of playing time. I know he's whatever new to this maybe. Just to ask that question without any other thing involved in it, it's mind-boggling to me. I don't know how you taught for so long.
It's mom goggles. We watched the Goldbergs, and they call it a smother. She has mom goggles for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was teaching nonstop. I'd give a kid a 98%. I'd get an email from the mom, why doesn't he have 99%? Or a kid that was the worst flute player, didn't get the flute solo. Email from the mom, why didn't they get the flute solo? That was 15 great years of my life.
Glad to be gone, right?
Yeah, a little bit. But I brought up the working in the backyard thing because I said that was suffering and it was hard, because I think the same thing is like mentally our kids have these pathways and patterns they connect and we do too, which is why like I can find when I was just coming home from the gym, I was thinking about this. So I said, I'm not going to turn on my phone or radio going home from the gym. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me. And as I was driving, I just like subconsciously grabbed my phone. I was like, this is fucked up. I need to stop doing this. Because I was like, I got to check. No, you don't have to check anything. You checked 5 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I need to listen to. It's like my brain kept on wanting a free pass. Mm-hmm. My brain kept on wanting information poured into it instead of me populating information and being creative and growing information within myself. Like we have this, just like we want comfort and ease and everything. If you use technology too much, I think your brain gets used to having stuff poured into it instead of pouring out of it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that can happen to kids. And a lot of kids whose parents don't monitor that, like, oh yeah, just go on the iPad 10 hours a day. Their kids aren't coming up with anything.
Right. It's okay to be bored.
Empty vessels.
It's okay to be bored. Figure something out in your head. There's nothing to do. Well, sit there and think of something. Think. Use your brain. Come up with a game. My kids did that like the second day with no electronics. I come downstairs, there's soda cans and water bottles, like boxes. I'm like, what is going on? We're like, oh, we're doing a challenge. I'm like, great.
What was the challenge?
I didn't even care. Like the TV was off. There was no electronics. They were doing something. Go ahead. Like, just clean it up when you're done.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Good. I'm glad you're thinking of something. On your own. Do it. But yeah, you're right. Like, the way we subconsciously just like, if you were to grab your phone right now, I guarantee you I'd grab mine. Yeah. Just because I see you doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny in the car too. The same thing. Like, I think about this like at red light. Like, what did we do 20 years ago at a red light? Because now everybody's like,
listen to Rush Limbaugh.
I have 12 seconds. Like, let me grab my phone. Like,
yeah, I know.
Then you're beeping.
Yeah.
Go move. But yeah, it's just subconsciously grabbing the phone, turn the radio on. I don't know, man. It's like we talked about earlier. It's exciting and scary at the same time. The technology.
Yeah, if you can use it correctly, you can get ahead. If you let it consume you and control you, I'm really going to try to hone in on that. These next months is it's just creating systems for everything. Like you have a system for working out, for your health. You can track your macros and nutrition. Okay, now you know how to bulk up. You know how to cut. You can control your health.
Great point.
No longer does food or alcohol control you.
Great
like
point.
You know that, okay, in 2 weeks I need to drop 10 pounds. I can do that.
Yeah.
Because I have a system for it. We need to have a system for social media.
That's a great point, man. So why not do it? Yeah. That's awesome.
It's just
you just inspired me to do the same.
Yeah, I have to do that. I need to. Same thing with like a morning routine. You have a morning routine, you have an eating routine. We're trying to both optimize our sleep. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on creating a system for better sleep, which for me now is what's I found working is sauna an hour before bed, no electronics. But tonight, which I didn't do last night, so I think get better sleep, is if I make sure that I journal before bed. I didn't do that last night. And because one of the things that keeps me up from sleeping is like racing thoughts, and that is basically like just open tabs on a computer, like things I didn't do, emails I didn't send, things I should have said to people, or things I shouldn't have done that day. And if I can just journal about it, get it all on paper before I go to sleep, I know that helps because I've done it before.
Now, that's a great point. Another thing you just inspired me to do, start journaling again. When you journal, is it the way you just described it? Kind of sound like a to-do list to me. Was that not what it is? Is it just emptying your head for you?
I do a couple different ways, and this is like in our program. This is a mandatory part if they follow the program. I say you have to do this. You know, I don't know if they're doing it or not.
Yeah.
But the guys that do will say, this alone can change your life. So, and then I always get the question, well, what do I journal? People think there has to be a right way. So it doesn't matter. The point of, and Jim Rohn talks about journaling too. He's a huge journaler. He says, you know, you get to see your thoughts. He said, start writing down what you're thinking. And I started journaling 8-10 years ago when I was in the midst of job and it wasn't going well and I was struggling, and I was just like, I have all this anxiety and stress in my brain, and whenever you're thinking about it, you have a thought here, a thought here, a thought here, and they come and they go, and you can't really analyze your thoughts.
Right.
If you write it down slowly, it forces your thinking to slow down. Like I use that Remarkable tablet, I handwrite it, forces you to slow down. You write down exactly what you're stressed about, or whatever's on your mind, and then you can actually see what you're thinking, and then you get to analyze what's in your head objectively. I tell the guys, whenever you journal, you find out who you are, because you actually find out what you're thinking. Otherwise, you don't really see your thoughts 100%. Like You get an emotion, you get a feeling, someone pisses you off, you think a couple vague things, and all of a sudden you get distracted. If I journal about what pisses me off about this person, I might write it down, look at it tomorrow, like, man, I'm an asshole. Because you get to find out what you really are. And then it's like, well, what do I journal? So I do prompts, and I also just do freewheeling whatever. The prompts in the morning are like what I'm grateful for, because this is like a 5-minute thing. It doesn't have to be an hour long. So like what I'm grateful for, 2 or 3 things, and you can repeat the same thing every day. I do identity building, so like who I want to be today, kind of like affirmations, like I want to be wise, I want to be inspiring, I want to be blank. So I do grateful for, who I want to be, and then I'll do like 3 needle moving tasks. It could be business, it could be anything, like things I have to do. And that's if I'm going to do a prompt, I do that.
I see.
I also do just anything I'm thinking, I write down. And I'll also do, I don't always use the writing. Sometimes I'll open Google Docs and they do voice to text.
Okay.
So I'll pop into my studio, I'll pull up a Google Doc, I'll type voice typing, and I'll just speak what I'm thinking for 20-30 minutes.
Right.
In order to write it all down. I'll have 3 pages of just like gibberish. But even that is healing and it clears your brain out.
Sure.
And then I'll go back through it and I'll be like, oh, and I'll like pull. Sometimes content will come out of there.
And that could be more time efficient too, just talking it all out instead of just writing.
Yeah, and then I just get it all out. So I do prompts, and then I also do just anything. And guys will always say, well, I have nothing to journal about. Well, then guess what you journal? I have nothing to journal about. Why is that? I don't know. I'm not. And you just keep on going.
You write that, something else is going to come up. Then something else is going to come up. Something else is going to come up. It's just the paralysis by analysis for a lot of guys, right? Like, how do I journal? Well, let me Google how you journal. Just start writing, man. Just start writing. I kind of do. So I do. I guess you call it like a power list. So I do my gratitude every morning. Then I always have at least 3 things that I must get done that day. Like, if it's just those 3 things, then I'm good. But there's always more. But at least there's 3 important tasks that you need to get done every day. So you journal at night and morning, or just whenever? Morning,
all the time. Night, if I'm being really on top of my shit.
Yeah.
And that's another goal for me. Like I want that to be part of my evening.
So nighttime is more the brain dump for you, and then morning's like, okay, this is my actionable stuff for the day.
Yeah, and that's journaling. I also like time block and write down my activities. That also clears your head. It's kind of like journaling. So you can like time block your day, but you could also, one thing that's even more beneficial, I think, is just writing down what you do. Because some days I'm like, that's all I did?
Yeah.
You're like, people are always like, well, where'd the day go? Well, did you write down what you did today? How much time you spent on everything? Because like at 12 o'clock will roll around, and then if you've been writing down what you did that day, like, oh, actually I did 20 things. Or how did I only do 3 things? It's 12 o'clock.
I had a client that was missing workouts, and I told him to do the same thing. I'm like, what? I ran out of time. What did you do today? Well, I said, no, I want you to start from when you woke up and nighttime. What did you do? Well, I can't. I got to go back and think. Like I said, you're just making excuses at this point. You had time, you just didn't prioritize it.
Yeah.
It comes down. That's what everything comes down to, right? It's prioritizing the important stuff in our life. If you're not doing it, but you want to do it, it's just not important to you at this moment in time.
Yeah.
That's all everything is. Everything. Like, I want to journal more. I'm just not making it important because I'm not doing it. If I make it important, put it on my to-do list or power list, it should get done.
And when you don't do these things, they build up in your head like they're hard to do.
Yes.
And then you do it, and it takes no time
Yes, and we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it. Man, that's great. I love the Google Docs thing, too. That could definitely work for me because I could see. I always have those thoughts at random worst times.
Yeah.
Like I'll be driving and my phone's not. I'm like, oh, I have like 30 thoughts in my head. I need to get out of my head. And by the time I get home, I'm like,
I know.
I remember 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Remarkable is good, but I also like same thing. If it's not around me, I'll pull up my phone and take notes there. I can't get away from that.
Yeah.
One thing I have gotten away from though is like the spiral bound notebooks because I've got 20 of those, and I never go through those. I tell myself I do. I write them down, and probably have gold in them. I don't have hours a day to go through these old notebooks.
I know. I need to get more away from that myself because I'm horrible with that. You write something down, then like you said, I have 20 of them laying around. I'm like, which one did I write that in again?
Yeah.
I know I have something good in there. Then you take the time to find it, and it's like scrolling, right? Now you're
exactly.
Now you're at your desk for 35 minutes looking for a notebook that something good may or may not be in.
Yeah. So what are the things you do? Like, what are a couple non-negotiables for you that you have to do every day that keep you aligned with who you want to be?
I have to. So I pray in the morning and do my gratitude list. That is like literally my feet hit the floor. I get out of bed, my feet hit the floor, and I say, thank you, God, for this new day. Because and then as I'm walking to the bathroom, turn my alarm off, I'm repeating that. I get to the bathroom, I turn my alarm off, then I'll go through my gratitude list in my head, like things that I'm grateful for. For me, that starts like with positivity, right? No matter how bad I slept, whatever, it starts with positivity.
Which is every night.
Yeah, pretty much, according to my Garmin. And then the other thing is working out, man. Like that, working out is the fuel for me that charges everything. If I'm not working out and not on top of my nutrition and workout program, everything else goes to shit.
Does your business go to shit?
Everything.
Is your relationships?
Everything, bro. I've learned this over the years the hard way, unfortunately. I've tried every diet, every workout program. I've tried every shortcut. And what I found out is there's no shortcuts.
Do you handle your emotions better when you work out?
Absolutely, 110%. Everything.
More positive?
Everything, bro. There's nothing that doesn't go better from not working. Now, granted, is every workout great? No. Do I have days off? Yes. But I still take a walk, foam roll, something.
Yeah.
I may not burn that many calories, but I go get stretched. Something's happening physically on my day off.
I want to talk about the stretch thing at some point. Yeah, and I'm prying into that because what I hear is from some men will say, I'm focusing on my business, taking a break from the gym or building. Like, I don't have time to build myself, go to the gym, eat healthy, or I need to focus on my marriage, so I'm going to stop working out and eating healthy. Or I need to focus on my business, so I'm going to stop going to the gym.
Right.
Like, tell me why that's not good.
It's all backwards. Like, science proves it. When you're working out, things happen in your brain. Things happen physically. The one that I want to work on my marriage, so I'm going to stop working out, that is like the worst one ever because how many guys and girls do you know get divorced or break up and all of a sudden they get in the best shape of your life? Bro, have you done that when you were in your marriage? Maybe you'd still be fucking married.
Yeah, that's true.
Hello. Think about it. Maybe you were a fat piece of shit and your wife hated it.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden because you're divorced, now you're going to get in shape? Why didn't you do that for your wife and your family while you were married?
Ooh.
I don't know. You can tell I get a little passionate about this. But listen, man, I spent a lot of time. I'm going to be 50 this year in a couple months. And I spent a good first half of my life on the other side, bro. Like, we've talked about this personally. Like, I'll talk about it. Like, my mom, she was, God rest her soul, she was a very woe is me type person. So I grew up with that, and I was like that when I was younger. It took me a while for things to click and turn the corner. So I know all the other side. I know all the bullshit excuses. I know looking for shortcuts. I know looking for the easy way out because I've done it. I lived it. When I was in my 20s, I took a bunch of steroids because that was easy, right? I mean, granted, you still have to work out to get the results, but I wanted the easy way. So, like I said, I've tried every diet, every workout program. I tried every shortcut. There's just no... You just got to be consistent. Show up day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Listen, you didn't put on 100 pounds in 3 months. So why the hell do you think you're going to lose it in 8 weeks? People get frustrated by their new workout routine or their new diet because they didn't lose 10 pounds in a week. Bro, you got to stick with it. Give it a chance. Do it 3, 6, 9, 12 months and then see what happens. People, that's just part of the society we live in too. Like, people want this instant gratification, instant everything. And it's just, nothing comes instantly, bro. Especially in the fitness world.
So let's dive into that. Your fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
What? Talk to me about the last 3 years. What is that? What have you done? What have been your goals? What's your journey been?
So it really turned. So I've been working out since I was 11, 12 years old. I think I asked for my first weight set for Christmas. I've been in and out of the gym, worked out at home. Like I said, tried every program. But for some reason, when 2020 hit, my business got shut down. I was always kind of out of shape, did the ebbs and flows, gain 20, lose 10, gain 10, like the roller coaster ride everybody does, right? But specifically for the last 4 years, I've been the most consistent in my entire life. Obviously it shows, right? So in 2020 hit, that's when, my business was shut down. All of a sudden I have all this time, right? So that's when I became the most consistent I've ever been in my life as far as fitness is concerned. And then as the years moved on, business came back. I stayed with it. And I started thinking about, turning 50, like bigger life goals, things that I want to accomplish. And I always wanted to do a bodybuilding show. So on my bucket list, so 2022, that was a goal for 2023. So I spent a year and a half prepping and doing that. But now it's just for me, it's just longevity at this point. Like I said, I'm going to be 50. I had kids late in life. I need to live till I'm 80, 90, 100 years old. Like, if I want to see grandkids grow up, I have to.
Yeah.
So with that said, my training style has changed a bit. I'm a meathead, to the core, right? Like, I love pounding weights, but my trainer and I, we're doing more functional fitness now. I'm getting into more stretching, stuff like that. I looking into some yoga. So at this point for me, like I said, I'll always be a meathead bodybuilder, but it's more longevity based for me.
So let's hit the bodybuilding competition first.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was the single hardest thing I've ever done in my life to this point. And listen, man, I've been through divorce. I've been through bankruptcy. I've been through failed businesses. I've been through a lot. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, mentally and physically. You think just because you've worked out your entire life, right, that'd be easy. No, it's not easy. And you see all these guys in the gym look like shape. Oh, you should do a show. Man, it's just not to put your body through that. I have a found respect for that community, that world.
It does that for years,
over and over again. To put your body through that, man. Like getting down to 4, 5, 6, 7% body fat.
What were you at? What'd you get to?
I think my lowest was 5.2. I think was the last reading I got.
You were insane. I went to his bodybuilding competition. It's nuts.
But we're not supposed to be walking around like that, bro. Like, yeah. So to be in that kind of deficit and put in that kind of work, it takes a toll. And it took a toll on my family too. Like they were bought in. They were 100% supportive. My wife was a saint. My kids were great. But to tell your kids, I'm just too tired, man. I can't throw a ball right now. I mean, it's heartbreaking, bro. Like, it's heartbreaking. But to go through the whole process, I have no regrets. I'm glad I did it. I did well. the most common question I get asked at this point is, when's the next one? I'll never say never, but it's years out if I were to do another one.
You'd have to get into like an emotional and mental state where you felt like you had to do it.
Yeah. And the kids would have to be older so they don't, quote unquote, need me as much. They would understand the thing a little more. But if you put a gun in my head, I would. It's one and done for me.
Would you recommend people doing that?
Why?
Like if you're just a guy who goes to the gym, you're in good shape, and he's like, man, that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some kids, he's married, got a job. And after you've done it, it's been like a year or so since you did it or whatever it is. What would your advice to him be?
You better have a damn good reason why you want to do it. Because at the end of the day, man, bodybuilding's vague, right? Like it's very vague, like very self-centered when you come down to the crux of it. But you better have a damn good reason why. For me, it was a bucket list item, something I always want to do my entire life. Like I knew that going in, like I'm going to give it everything I got for this one show because it's probably only going to be one. Now that I've done one, you have that itch. It's like a tattoo, right? But the advice I would give is you probably don't know what you're getting yourself into, and you better have a damn good reason why and a damn good support system if you're going to do it. Because just do it just to do it. If you watch enough bodybuilding shows, you can see the guys who are doing it just to do it, and the guys that really put in the work to do it. It was hard, man. The hardest thing probably the hardest thing was the posing, man.
Yeah, my next question is, what was the hardest part about the process?
The posing, like another newfound respect. Those guys, if you watch a show, they make it look, especially the pros, they make it look so elegant and easy, and it is so freaking hard. So hard.
What's so hard about it? Because if you listen, you're like, nah, you're just flexing.
No, well, yeah, you're just flexing, but just say if you're in a front double bicep, you can't just be flexing your biceps. Yeah. Your whole body's got to be flexed. You can't let go of your stomach. There's a talent to it for sure. I just have no regrets. If I had to pick one thing, is I wish I would have practiced posing more. But
I mean, you did pretty well at the competition, right?
Yeah, I did pretty good.
How'd you do? What'd you get?
I finished first in all 4 categories.
There you go. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So, how about the entire prod? Like, what was the hardest part of the whole thing? Like, any part of it?
Just, dude, the mental. And again, this is why I'm glad I did it, because now I look back at it and think, boy, if I can do that, what can't I do?
Yeah.
Because mentally, bro, there were days where you just want to quit. Like, can't do this anymore. You're so sore. You're so tired. You're so depleted. But the work still has to be done. You're laying in bed. Your stomach is growling. You're starving because you're in such a deficit. But
how much of a deficit were you in those final days? Like with all the cardio, with how many calories you're taking in, how many calorie deficit do you think you were in?
I guess that's another grid I have. I wish I would have tracked things.
Yeah, if you had this and
I wish I would have tracked things.
Because how many hours of cardio were you doing at the end?
Oh, there were at least 2 hours a day. There were some days I was doing 3 hours.
All on the Stairmaster?
Oh, yeah, on zero carbs.
1,300 calories you're burning just in cardio?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. And that's probably all I was eating. I mean, because at the last, 4 weeks, I was eating tilapia, rice cakes, asparagus, and shakes. I think that was
how many daily calories do you think you're taking in?
It was probably between 1,000 and 1,400, roughly.
And my daily calorie burn with nothing is 2,100.
Right. Yeah,
that's probably around the same.
Yeah. So I usually average about between 2,000 and 2,500. Yeah.
So your main body muscle workout, which you're doing 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah. So a workout. Yeah, and then I'd come back.
Burning how many calories do you think doing that?
Probably 400 or 500, I think.
So 500 calories plus 1,200 at least.
You would think.
At least
an hour or 2 on a Stairmaster, yeah.
Yeah. So that's 1,700 of active burn calories, but you're burning 4,000 calories a day, taking in 1,200. Like a 3,000 calorie deficit every day.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's how you get lean, for sure.
Yeah. And then you go to sleep hungry.
Just starving, bro. Like days where you're, starving.
How do you go to sleep when you're starving?
You don't.
Just horrible sleep.
Oh, there were days where I was.
Were you taking sleep pills, medication, melatonin, anything?
No. What's funny is your body is such a furnace at that point, like, because you're just burning.
Yeah.
Just, there were nights I would, like, my wife would have to change the sheets almost like every other night. I would just sweat.
Yeah.
Just sweat while I'm sleeping because your body's just a furnace, just burning all the time. I mean, you look good, but you're suffering.
You look good.
You're suffering. But like I said, it was a cool journey. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did well. Tried to leave nothing on the table. But back to your question about the guy that wants to do it.
Yeah.
All depending on where he's at in his fitness level, like I might tell him, look, go do 75 hard first. See how you do with that. I mean, it's a pretty hard program. 75 straight days of, 2-a-days and following a diet. So I would tell him maybe that first.
Yeah.
See how that treats you.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
See if you can stay consistent at that first.
See if you're really disciplined and motivated.
Mm-hmm. So then you did that. How has your training changed? Like how you're working out. I know you went into a little bit, but more specifics. Like how has it changed from bodybuilding for this competition to the rest of your life now?
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to focus more on, like, I call it functional fitness.
Which is like what?
More like total body movements, balance movements, a lot of core movements. So not just like, granted, we go through stages where I still train like a bodybuilder, chest tries, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we rotate every 4 weeks. So every other 4 weeks we do this functional fitness. Where, like I said, it's balance. It's like I'm golfing right now, so he's training me like how to get my swing stronger, like grab a rope and all that kind of stuff. A lot of balance things. A lot of stretching and mobility stuff because my mobility is horrible. One tip I have for people, especially younger guys, stretch more. Stretch more.
I wish I never stopped yoga, man.
Stretch more. And that's the other thing I mentioned too. I looked at a yoga studio. I might do that again. So that is, you ever do yoga before?
I did. Well, back when I did P90X for an entire year, I did yoga.
I hated that yoga.
90 minutes. But I felt so good.
But yeah, you do feel good afterwards.
And I got so damn flexible. Over that 1 year of my life, I got shredded, insanely flexible, and then I stopped all of it.
Another thing to put on the list, right? Yoga. So yeah, that's kind of how my fitness has changed up to this point because now I'm looking at it as more longevity. Like I said, I'll always be a meathead at heart, but it's longevity for me at this point.
So how old are you?
49. I'll be 50 in October.
Are there other guys your age who look like you?
I'm assuming there are somewhere.
A lot?
Probably not a lot from what I see around.
Yeah. At what age do you think guys kind of take the turn from? Because I talked to a guy who was 51 yesterday. Did not look like you. I mean, he looked like he was 75. He was 350 pounds. He was inquiring about our program. Decided not to do it. 350 pounds. But though in the call said he has to do something to save his life. He's like diabetic. His kids are 4 and 6, and he's 51 at 350 pounds.
So
and
he has to do something, right?
That's what he said. He said,
So
I have to do.
It's not your program. What's it going to be?
Well, it's going to be, he's going to be a statistic is what it's going to be.
Exactly my point.
He's going to be I mean, not everyone can make a transformation and live a great life.
Right.
Some people die early. Some people, the hospital, the ambulance comes and picks them up and their kids are screaming. And that's just the end for some people. Like these little decisions, man, like had he said yes, joined our program, 12 months from now, he could be in the best shape of his life, entirely changed his life. Like just a little decision he made. But other people, they look. Say you're dead, and you're like looking back at your life like a movie. You're like, man, back at chapter 3, if I made that one decision, the rest of my book would be different.
Dude, that's such a great point. That's one of my biggest fears, bro. Like you just mentioned, book. Like if people would picture their life as a book, would you want to read it?
Yeah.
And the other thing that scares the shit out of me, I think it might have been Ed Milet that talks about this. Like whether you're a believer or not, let's say you are. You get up to heaven, and you're standing there at the gates, and God says, "Come here, I got someone for you to meet." And it's the version of you that He created.
Yeah.
In meeting that man, it's a completely different person. That's my biggest fear, bro. Like,
Yeah, that's terrifying.
it literally terrifies me. Like, those are the days when I have let's say a bad day where I didn't get stuff done that I want to do, or I wasted a day, right? Like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, whether it be sick or just not, and you feel like, those days you just feel like, man, I could have done more. At the end of those days, I'm like, shit. Like, that's a day gone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get back. That terrifies me.
Yeah, that's why I like journaling so helpful. That's why writing a list of what you do is helpful, because that's the shit that keeps me up.
Yeah.
That's why I can't sleep. It's not a lot of times it's not a physical thing. It's looking back at my day saying, damn it, I didn't squeeze enough juice out of today.
Yeah. Terrifying.
So my question was, at what age do guys start making the turn from motivated, I'm going after life, to meh?
I think this goes back into societal numbers. And, you get married to your ball and chain now, you're 35, it's all downhill from here. Like, the stuff that we hear and we're programmed. Like, oh, you're 40, all downhill from here, 40 years old, look out. Or you're 40. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Statistically, you're halfway through life. Maybe a little less. I think, to answer your question directly, for a lot of guys, it's when they get married. They let themselves go. I did it.
What is it about? I did too.
I did it.
But what is it about getting married that guys do that? Like, why?
Because they found their partner. They're going to raise a family. They're done.
That's like the thing they've been hunting for their whole life.
Yeah.
Even Nathan is talking about getting a girlfriend right now.
That's the word right there, hunting. So the hunt is now over. So time to chill. I don't need to look good for anybody anymore. But meanwhile, you need to look great for your bride.
Yeah.
For your family, for your soon-to-be son, daughter, whoever, whatever have you. Be the example for them. I mean, I did it, bro. I can show you pictures.
Yeah.
I was 200-some pounds of not muscle.
And at what age did you start turning it around?
Like I said, I was always kind of up and down a little bit. So I got married in 2010. It was probably about 3 to 5 years later is when I was really. I remember seeing a picture of myself. It was Christmas in my parents' house in the basement. I had like this sweater on, and my gut was just, and I was disgusted. I was just completely disgusted with myself, and that's when things started turning around.
Yeah,
I think if you have a partner that's also into fitness, like our wives are, obviously that helps, right?
Yeah.
Because there can be, and I saw this in my own household growing up with my parents. You know, my dad would go on a diet, start getting in shape, and guess what my mom would do?
Get ripped.
My mom would make him feel guilty about it because she didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So, if you're in that dynamic, then
it's many guys.
You need to have some conversations.
Yeah, that's common. And it could be the wife could be making the husband feel like shit or vice versa.
For sure.
Yeah, so that happens to a lot of guys, is like they're forced to confront this thing that's been holding their marriage back. And it's because some people get married, but when both of them are in a down state. You know,
good point.
It's the woman is in a depressed, anxiety-ridden state of her life. The husband is also. Both of them are not taking care of themselves. And like they've been dating and watching movies and eating like crap as a way to comfort each other. And they decide to get married at that phase of their life. 10 years pass. The husband decides, I'm disgusted with myself. He decides to rise and become a badass. And then he's a completely different person. Like they met and married when they were depressed people. And now the husband is not. And then his wife's like, well, this is not who I married.
Right.
So she's not getting what she needs anymore. And that's just someone to mope and be in her toxic vortex with.
Partner, yeah.
That happens a lot.
So what's the solution?
It gets hairy when you have kids.
Yeah.
What couple things that can happen is the guy can inspire his wife to change.
Just gonna say, yeah.
By his example, not by being patronizing and telling her what to do. It's the quickest way to turn her off. Him just keeping his mouth shut, living a disciplined life, becoming a better person. That will also, like when you start to go to bed earlier, wake up earlier, not participate every night in ordering McDonald's and pizza, not watching 2 hours of Netflix every night, you are going to get some resistance from your wife. And you just got to be honest. You got to say, like, this is where I want to change my life. This is who I am. Like, I want to be better. I want you to be better too.
I was just going to say, I want you to come along with me.
It's okay if it's not your time, but this is what I have to do. This is, so like, you need to love me for who I am. And then, like, a lot of times they have a blow-up conversation. People are crying, and it usually gets better after that.
Yeah. So what, in your group specifically, what have you, so guys that have been through this, like say a guy wants to make a change.
Yeah.
They're both, in that situation you just said. He wants to make a change. He goes to his wife, said, look, I need to do this for me, for us. I want you to come along with me.
Yeah.
I want you to change too. She at first doesn't want to do it. He starts changing, doing all the right things. She's still behind. He gets frustrated. Have you seen this in your group? If so, what eventually happens most of the time?
It all depends on the relationship, how the guy communicates this
prior to this event.
Yeah, because different things have happened. Like I had a guy join us last week. 2 days into our program, he said, I'm waking up at 4 a.m., I'm working out, and guess what? On our call, he said, my wife's doing it too now.
That's awesome.
2 days in.
Fucking awesome.
So she was on the call with him, 90 minutes, him and his wife on the call. She was like, yeah, I'm supporting my husband. I'm all about to. So he's making these massive life changes, and she said, I'm going to do this with my husband.
That's great.
There's those kind of women out there. There's also women who their husbands will do this, and they'll get very, very threatened by them. And they'll start digging and attacking and tearing them down.
Resist till the death.
And say, you're going to bed early because you don't love me. Or you're not eating the pizza that I made you because you hate me like you did 10 years ago.
That's what I grew up in, bro.
Yeah, and they manipulate and hold emotional bombs over their husbands. And they use these things for little. I'll give you some examples because all this stuff has just recently happened with some guys in my program who were talking to me about. I'll keep it nameless, but here's a situation that happens a lot. A husband and wife will have some type of disagreement early on in their marriage where, like, one situation was a guy went to a lunch with a coworker who was a female, attractive female, just like they went to lunch together. They both worked at the same spot. They didn't have an affair. Nothing happened. They had lunch. The guy's wife got super jealous and for a decade never let him forget about it. Told him that
a decade.
Yeah, told him that he betrayed her. Told him that she can never trust him again. And almost every single day has been pounding into his head that he had an affair, that he can't be trusted, and that she always needs to watch him or else. So she's been using this meaningless thing. So I had a call with this guy, and he kept on saying this internal track. His wife's negative, toxic voice had formed an internal track in his brain that formed his identity because he kept on subconsciously saying, and she can't trust me. And I said, well, he just say that. So I kept on stopping.
So now
him.
It's a story he's telling himself.
So I would say, what do you mean she can't trust you? He's like, well, for that thing I did. I said, what did you do? He said, I had lunch with that lady. And then I would say, okay, so let's agree that, did you have an affair? No. So nothing happened? No. So
you didn't do anything.
So you can be guilt-free right now. And he would say, oh, yeah. And then 10 minutes later, he'd say, yeah, and then for that horrible thing I did to my wife, he would just subconsciously say it. So he's convinced himself for his entire life, until I'm talking to him, that he had an affair with his wife or with this other lady, that he's a horrible person. And then he'll give me example after example of, well, I can't make this decision without my wife's approval because she can't trust me anymore because of what happened. But she uses that every single day to control every single situation. This type of thing happens a lot.
I believe it.
And then this guy, I'll get through to some of these guys, and they'll join my program, and they'll be surrounded by inspiring men who are crushing life, who are getting shredded, and are for the first time telling this guy he's not a piece of shit. We're like, no, that's like it's positive brainwashing. We're for the first time, this guy doesn't feel like a total piece of garbage because his wife, for their entire marriage, she's the kind of person who has been clawing into his soul and is tearing him down. So like all these men are saying, no, you're amazing. You're a great person. You didn't do any, like, you're great. You can be. And then a lot of times that wife will get very threatened by, because she's losing control now.
Sure.
She's been feeding on him like a parasite for their entire marriage.
She's threatening his growth.
Yeah.
He's pulling away from her.
He's finally, it's like Tangled, whenever she finally leaves the thing and her mom doesn't have the clutches anymore. Right. But if you're that guy, like, I'm sorry, either you need to, for some guys, like, you need to leave. If your wife's not going to change, if you can't get through to her.
That was my next question. What do you think happens with not only that situation, but with most guys? Like,
yeah, I mean, most guys are so afraid of the confrontation or so terrified of their wife, they will say,
especially in that situation,
they will sacrifice the rest of their life to avoid the confrontation. They will say, I'm not willing to stand up to my wife. I'm not willing to become the man I could be and do a good model for my son. I'm not willing to have this hard conversation. So I'm just going to accept things as they are, tell myself a lie that feels good, and then for the rest of their life, they live like a snake, and they're passive-aggressive and they're weak, all because they decided to not have a hard talk.
And those hard conversations, when you don't have them, they're like weeds in your mind. They just multiply and fester and grow into this gigantic shit garden that now you can't think. All you're thinking about is having this hard conversation that you can't have. So it just keeps festering in your mind, festering in your mind, festering in your mind. And then it just grows into this gigantic weed garden. Now you can't think because you're avoiding the confrontation, the talk that you want and need to have. And if you have a good relationship with your wife, you should be able to have these conversations.
Yes.
That's what you need to tell yourself. Well, why can't I have this conversation? Why am I? Yeah, part of it's probably you, but the other part of it's because the relationship you two have, that you're not comfortable having that conversation.
Yeah, and it's easy to just put your blinders on, put your hands over your face, go to work, come home, not have sex with your wife for the 12th month in a row.
Go to the mall one day and just watch. Or go anywhere, just watch. A lot of these guys with their wives, they just follow. Shoulders slumped over.
Yes.
Walking around.
Like a dog.
It's sad, bro. It's sad. Same thing with guys, out of shape. Like, it's... And listen, I'm not saying every guy has to walk around with a six-pack. Having a six-pack is hard. Like, but you can still be healthy. You can still be healthy. You don't have to have a six-pack. Just get in shape somewhat for you and your family. Don't walk around like a beat-up little dog behind your wife waiting for her next orders. You just pay attention, all of you. Like, when you're out and about looking, you'll see it. And
or if you notice it in yourself.
That too, yeah. That too, for sure.
Yeah, if you... it's so... There's a sliver of the population of men who are like that, and I've talked to many of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I bet. Yeah, I think that's why, masculinity is being attacked in our culture right now so bad, because whoever they is, don't want the strong man. The weak man's easy to control for everybody.
Yeah. Ugh.
You hit the nail on the head there talking about that guy, like, the story he's telling himself. Like, that comes down to each and every one of us. Sometimes you need to sit and think about the stories, not only that you're telling yourself now, that you've told yourself for years on years and years, that now you're all of a sudden believing. Yeah. When you dig to the root of that story, like, shit, this isn't even true. Why am I keep telling myself this? So I think it's a good exercise for people that are struggling, internally with either self-confidence or, body dysmorphia, whatever. Like, what stories are you telling yourself and why? Where'd that story come from? Did somebody tell you that story? And you manifest it into something bigger in your brain? It's not even true to begin with?
Yeah.
Just like that guy. Like, now that's true for him. When it wasn't true. She made it true. It's sad, man.
I know, it's depressing me.
Yeah, I hope your group helps him and helps him get out of it for sure.
It can, yeah. It absolutely, and I have helped those kind of guys, and they have made progress. And a lot of it is just being around guys who aren't like that, and it's someone finally telling you you're not a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And for some guys, it shouldn't be this way. Our wives are not like this,
right?
But some guys have wives who they are the most negative voice in their life. Like their internal negative soundtrack comes from the words their wife speaks to them.
And you're with your wife how 80% of the time? So why do you want to be around that? You shouldn't have to. You're married to this person. This is your life partner.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be around that. Nor should you want to be around that. So have those difficult conversations. Get to the root of the problem. And move on. I mean, I've been divorced. I'm not a fan of it, but sometimes it's what's needed.
Yeah. And yeah, like recommending divorce, I don't want to do that.
No.
And it's not like a good recommend. But if the person you're with is the biggest parasite in your life and will not change, and is sucking the life out of you and destroying your family, it's a hard conversation.
What kind of person is that anyway to begin with? Let me think about it. What you just said. If the person you're with, whether it be 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, is the biggest, your word, parasite in your life, think about that.
And by parasite, I mean sucking the joy out of your soul.
Each and every day. Why do you want to stay with that? No, I'm not, like you said, I'm not recommending just coming home, packing up, maybe you go get some counseling or whatever, try to work through it. But, yeah, life is way too short to live like that. Way too short. To live like that and unhealthy.
Yeah.
Just making your life shorter. Like, think about the stress level.
No, I couldn't handle it.
And there's scientific evidence on stress, too. Cortisol, like, all that affects your body, your mind, your longevity. It all affects it. So why live with it?
Definitely get therapy. Definitely try to improve yourself. Definitely get counseling. Like, fight, 1,000% fight for your marriage.
Absolutely. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying don't fight for it. But.
No. Absolutely fight for your marriage.
And your kids, if you have kids, too.
Yeah. There's this person at the gym, a lady who I heard talking yesterday. I just happened to be by her, and reminded me of 2 months ago, working out next to this person. And I remember thinking 2 months ago, I need to talk to my guys about this because she makes me so damn grateful for Sarah. She was the most negative person I've ever been around. Just unbelievable. Talking to some guy about, I was checking my watch. I don't know if she's talking about me or not. She's like, I hate when people work out and check their watch. And then she'd be like, I hate blah, blah. This 30 minutes. I was on a bench doing 3 different exercises with one bench. And she talked about 10 different types of people she hated. Not working out at all. Just this guy was trying to work out, just filling his head with claws and negativity and a dark cloud. I felt the life got sucked out of my soul just by being next to her. I remember thinking, I can't imagine being this lady's husband. And then yesterday, same thing. I was working out. I heard that same voice. I just felt sad immediately, and it took me back to 2 months ago. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, it's her.
Wow.
And just a new guy next, just like scowl on her face, looking around. I hate blah, blah, blah. I hate. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Can you imagine being around something like that 24/7?
No. But dude, the reality is that's how a lot of people are. Like, if you were to be a fly on the wall, a lot of people's conversations, it's negative this, talking about this person that. Like, that's why I appreciate you and our friendship and our family's camaraderie. Like, yeah, we talk some trash, whatever, sometimes, but for the most part, we're talking about goals, how we can level up, and family, and our kids, what we're going to do in the future. Like, those are the people, those are the conversations that I want to be around and have friends, the circle that I want to be involved with. So I appreciate your friendship.
Appreciate you. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
The only in-person studio.
Yeah.
Podcast guest. All right, so let's wrap up with some some tangible steps guys can take from your point of view to get their shit together, feel more happy, more confident, more strong, more successful? Like, what's 5-8 steps guys can do today?
Well, the first thing you need to do, I tell everybody this, is you got to be brutally honest with yourself is where you're at right now. If you're working out, great. If you're eating healthy, great. But I'm assuming we're talking about the average kind of Joe right now.
Yeah.
So the first step is just to be brutally honest. Where am I at? How did I get here? Did I do something in the past that was good, that I stopped doing, that I can bring back? Those types of questions, ask yourself. So with that said, start exercising. If you're 400 pounds, just go for a walk. Go for a 20-minute walk every day for the next week. Next week, do 30. Like, start there. Start somewhere. You don't need to join a gym if you don't want. Just start by walking. Grab yourself a Garmin. Get your steps in. Second thing is evaluate your diet. What are you eating? How much are you eating? Track if you want to track. I don't personally track, but for people that have never done it before, I require it in my coaching, and I recommend it. You can see what you're eating, what portions look like, what something weighs. Like, bro, you want to get depressed? Weigh out some peanut butter.
I know.
Weigh out a bowl of cereal.
Like,
you want to get depressed? Weigh that shit out.
Yeah.
Because you would think you're eating a tablespoon of peanut butter, you're eating 3.
Yeah, you're eating 3 cups of cereal instead of 1.
So, weigh some stuff out. If you have some sort of food, I don't want to say addiction, but the analogy I like to use, if you're drinking 4 Mountain Dews a day, cut it to 3. Like, don't try to go, and some people can do this, go all in, but for the most people, they can't. Like, if you remove everything and I'm going to the gym for 4 hours, that's going to last a week. You're going to go right back to where you were. Slow, steady steps. Drink 3 Mountain Dews next week. Next week, drink 2, 1, go to diet, that kind of thing. Fast food 5 days a week, cut it to 3, cut it to 1, cut it out. Those types of things. Small increment changes. So, workout, nutrition, start there. Next thing I would say is grab a great personal development book. There's hundreds of them out there. Read some personal development books. Get those patterns, thoughts in your head from the books. Next, I would say get around like-minded people. And sometimes, man, that means removing people from your life, too. Find a new tribe. Find a new circle if you need to. That's the benefit of a gym, right? You can meet people there. Obviously, you have the same goals. You're there. So get around like-minded people. And just with those steps, like we talked about journaling, there's a lot of things you do, but I don't want to throw too much stuff out there because, like I said, the average person isn't going to do it. So yeah. I think just those 4 things.
Do one of those things, you're good.
And staying consistent over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like, people look at me, like you said, I'm in shape, I'm 50. But I've been working out since I was 11.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's been on and off, but it's been a long time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so just stay the course daily, in and out for weeks, months, years, and you'll see changes for sure. You got to stay consistent over a long period of time. You have to. So those would be like the 4 starting ports, I would say. Workout, nutrition, find a tribe, read a book, and stay consistent.
Great.
Stay consistent each and every day. And if you're really feeling up for it, do a program. Do a 75 hard. But if you've been out of the fitness industry for a long time, don't do that yet. Get consistent with some small actions first, and then move into some challenges. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
You guys could do anyone could do any one of those things. And
yeah.
Like, you do all 4 of those, you're gonna be a changed man in a month.
Yeah. And don't tell me you don't have time. That's the biggest bullshit excuse we all have.
Everyone. Yeah. It should. Yeah. I could just keep on talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has time. It's
priority.
What's your
That's all it
priorities?
is. Like we talked about with ourselves, working on journaling and other stuff we want to do. We just got to make it a priority.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
On that note card, as you're saying that, that's a reminder for myself. The little piece of paper that it's like folded under. I said, what you do today doesn't matter. What you do 1,000 times matters. I have to remind myself of that every day.
I love it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
We're gonna do this more consistently.
Yeah.
Mark, he lives close. He'll come down. He'll come by.
Yeah.
But thanks, everyone. Subscribe, share it, follow Mark. Mark, where do you want people to follow you and do all that?
Instagram's the best place, at Mark_Ferrelli, Ferrelli.
Awesome, man. Thank
Cool.
you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, man.